All right, thanks, Bertie. Very tough act to follow. So what I'm going to do, the next section is really, it's a lot more boring, but maybe you can actually take some key learnings from it, you know, again, based on our experience on the operational nitty-gritty stuff. My background, I've been in software for about 20 years, but much more on the B2B side. So always working for you know, Silicon Valley companies, actually US companies, you know, building big software that we then sold on to enterprise customers. So very different business to what we're looking at here, e-commerce marketplace, right? However, there's a lot of parallels in terms of how to actually run a business. And I just want to, you know, give you some insight as to how we do it at Flubit. You know, just like that. So, you know, this is what we do. You know, maybe it would help you or you see some parallels to your own projects. Key success factors. And these are really the ones that we live every day. So we've heard about the team, right? How you hire friends a lot, you fire people, you turn around. And it's very, very important that you constantly assess your position. You know, the people that you have in your organization, do they actually deliver what that organization needs at that point in time, right? It's not really a reflection on are they good or bad, usually, not at this stage, but are they right for that stage of your business at that point in time? And as Bertie said, you know, we got it wrong many times. So we're constantly sort of reassessing, but I think we're getting better. So it's not like we're hiring and firing all the time. However, you know, the next thing is really, it's the execution. You know, there's many times where you obviously think about the idea and the business that you got yourself into, but it's actually, you know, how you execute is much more important. You know, if you look at a coffee shop, right? It's a very established sort of run-of-the-mill type of business. You know, it works, the business model is proven. So what makes a coffee shop successful? It's the actual execution, right? Little bit of a different twist on it, but you basically, you know, buy for less and sell for more, right? But that's actually a very, very important step that you mustn't forget, that, you know, the quality and the speed of the execution, in particular in the internet, is one of the keys. And this one is actually my favorite, the product at market fit. I mean, in essence, your success is going to be based on whether people want and need your product, right? A very sort of general statement, but you actually, you know, we actually have to live that every day. So what do? We find out whether whatever we currently offering actually works. You know, do people like this new homepage? Do people like the new buying process? Do people like the new buttons that we put on the website? Because, you know, that is very critical, that you have to find something that the users actually want. And I have another slide, and you know, we'll give you some more pointers as to how we actually do it. But in essence, we test it all the time. We test it and measure it and try to improve it. Never stop learning. We've heard about that. You know, we read a lot of blogs. Another aspect to it is, you know, we try to discuss it with anybody who wants to listen to us. You know, we meet somebody, you know, be that from friends or acquaintances or, you know, at events like this, you know, I'm always keen to discuss it, just to explain what we do, how we do it. There's always something coming back. However, there's a big danger that we fell into as well a few times. It's what I call the advice trap, right? E-commerce, you know, everybody kind of understands it. Everybody does have experience in that. You know, there's a lot of people that then come up to you and say, oh, you know what you could do? And then they go off on a tangent, right? And everybody is right, actually. You know, you could do that. But if you actually take everything at face value, you know, there's this really impressive person with 20 years e-commerce experience, and he says, you know what you could do is you could concentrate only on the high-end fashion items, handbags for ladies. And you go, well, you know, maybe he's got a point, right? But then the next day you speak to somebody else, and they say, you know what you could do is you could concentrate on high-end cars. Right? And after a week, you know, you have no idea what to concentrate anymore. And if you listen and investigate every single piece of advice, you're stuck as well, right? So you have to be careful with that. Yes, listen, but try to distill it into something that's actually actionable, right? So advice, the way I define it, if it's not actionable advice, it's just another what you could do. Product market fit, right? So just to recap on that. So there's a couple of models out there on the web. The startup pyramid is quite a good one, and there's a URL. I'm not sure whether you can see it there. But it's actually quite important, right? This pyramid, what they say is, first thing that you need to establish that you have a product that people want, right? And there's a couple of quotes from people. Paul Graham from Y Combinator. Not sure whether you know who he is. Y Combinator is one of the most successful incubators in Silicon Valley. They do Dropbox, Airbnb, all of these really well-known companies now have come out of that seed incubator. So that Paul Graham is quite a authority in this space. And he said, he simply said, make things people want, right? So Mark Andreessen, not sure whether people know him. No, from Andreessen and Horowitz, he was the guy who coded the first internet browser, Netscape, sold it and made millions and is now an investor essentially. And he's basically saying the life of a startup is divided into two phases. One is before product market fit, and one is afterwards. Because once you've actually found something that your users want, and a lot of people want, this thing is going to go viral. Before that, you're constantly pushing and trying to learn, to adapt the product, to change it. And if you never make that transition, you probably should stop at some point. And the way to there's a few ideas as to how you can actually measure whether you have a product or market fit. The first very, very simple one is, do customers actually pay for your product? Not only once, that's important. Because you can con anybody into paying once at least. With a promise, with a vision. If they come back repeatedly and how often they come back, that will give you a measure of whether you have achieved to sell them something they actually want and need. There's another way. In our space, it might be a bit difficult, but you can actually ask your customers, right? If you say operate in the B2B area, just ask them, what if we weren't there? Would you miss us? Would you miss our product? Everybody says, it doesn't really make a difference. Okay, you're probably not onto something. And it's the next one is again quite self-explanatory, but we sort of live and breathe this as well. That we're still in this phase where we're validating our product, right? And I show you some more pictures around that and how we actually going about validating it. But we're watching our burn rate like hawks, and that's again goes back into if we have somebody on the team who doesn't actually is not multi-skilled in all the areas that we need them to be, we sort of exchange very quickly because we watch our burn rate very, very closely. Another important one, don't hire managers, hire doers, right? So everybody in your team in the beginning, they have to actually do something, right? They have to add value to the organization. So how are we going about doing this? How to hire the right people? We've heard friends. Absolutely. Anybody you have come across and met in your life, ask them. They might have other friends. We use LinkedIn. We actually also use agencies. And we tried that out, right? From agencies that just take very, very low commission, to agencies that take higher commission, like the normal rate. And just to give you an idea, an agency that takes 11% of an annual salary is a very cheap agency. An agency that takes 20% is the normal rate, right? So we tried everything, and again, unfortunately, our experience was the cheap agencies, they just send you rubbish. They don't do any work. All they do is pass on CVs. You have to do all the work, and 99% of them are rubbish. However, we actually found an agency, again, a startup, somebody who just started a recruitment agency. They really took the time to get to know us, to speak to us, to understand what the roles are, what the company is, what the goals. We got 3 CVs. We hired 2. But it cost us 20%, right? So you have to weigh it up. Another very, very good source for finding people is people per hour. You know, Bertie mentioned that earlier. It's a website that basically, you know, if people have a skill and they want to go freelance, they go on there and offer their services. And you can put up a project, you know, sort of a time-limited project. Say, I'm asking, you know, I need a developer of this caliber. This is what the project is. This is what I'm prepared to do. And you get CVs, people bidding for it, right? Now, it's a very interesting model. They take about 4% of the value. Are you saying 5 minutes? We started late. But it's a very good way to actually test people, right? Another mechanism, and you know, I'm talking about this really long, but it's one of the most important parts of your startup, that you know, you get the right people in. And a good way of testing people is by offering them work experience. You know, young graduates come in for 4 weeks and, you know, just do something and show us something, what you're made of, and then maybe we turn it into an employment or internships. Okay, looks like I'm a bit pressed for time. So let's go to this point here. In particular, when you do an internet, e-commerce, more specifically, business, it's really important that you start measuring very quickly and very early on all the different KPIs that you can think of. You know, it starts with number of visitors a day. You know, how many registered users, how many of those are actually active. Active in what way? Eventually, you know, how many of those buy. But really make sure that you define a framework of KPIs that you measure constantly and actually measure it in such a way that it reflects your business. Let me just go quickly forward. And you know, just to show you what I mean by that. So what we have done within Flubit is we've created this operating wheel. Right? So you can't really see this, but this is sort of a wheel. This is our process that we want our users to go through and Flubit to help them to go through, right? So we attract and retain users. You know, they search for products. They demand products they want. We then actually match all the different demands into bigger demand groups. We get offers against those demands. We want them to share and refer those so that these demands get bigger. We then match offers against demands. They purchase, they get a delivery, and they review. So that is what we want our users to do. So what we actually did is defined KPIs to measure each single step. And that is how we run essentially day-to-day operations. So, you know, we found a way to attract people, to get new users in. You know, and that took us a couple of attempts to get that, you know, to do that without spending a lot of money. You know, we found a way to get them to demand. We merged demands. That is where we're currently, more or less. You know, we're now at the point where we get offers up against those demands and try to move them all the way to actually buying those offers. All right, so this little wheel actually helped us a lot in identifying, okay, what should we do next? What is the next step? How should we measure it? And to find, you know, once we start measuring, we actually found, one example is that we found that a lot of people didn't complete our login process. There was something really wrong with how we asked people to log in to our website. So we completely redesigned that and just about to launch it, which hopefully will make a big difference in the conversions to purchase, because, you know, we need them to log in before they buy.